Hello everyone, Holiday Wither here, and welcome back to another episode of 80 Days. In the last episode, we continued our journey around the world and had a very uncomfortable ride in a hot air balloon, where someone has mistaken us for a girl. But thankfully it managed to get us to Beirut, and we are continuing our journey excellently. So let's go to the market and see what there is. There's a neck cushion, part of the frequent flyer set, the hooded cloak, part of the urban traveler set, the railman set, the left of the law set, or of interest to feminine posh types. Well, I'm going to grab the neck cushion set, just for the reason that we always do travel, and to be safe, I'm going to grab this, and I think that will be all. Though I'm going to buy that as well. So we did that. The bank opens on Monday, so I think we're going to explore for now while we can. And we have some new routes that are opening to us. Streamers throng Beirut's modern harbor, and the airships hung in the air above, tethered with long cables to rows of purpose-built iron rings, which ran perpendicular to the docks. The city sprawled out from the confines of its ancient walls, yet was bounded by the shadows of Mount Lebanon and to the north. An albinine sailor offered me a game of dice. A group of merchants were heading into the city. Well, let's do this. And I was only too happy to accept, despite a troubled relationship with Lady Luck of Fate. I bet £2 and he rolled a hard 4 to start, telling me he had only just been released from the lazaretto, which was sort of maritime quarantine. He looked rather unsettled by the experience. It's no life for a sailor being locked up ashore with no women and no liquor. It's unnatural, and besides, I'm healthy as a donkey. I changed the topic discreetly and asked about his cargo. Opium of the highest quality. Though here's the joke, it is technically British opium, purchased straight from Turkish farmers, then resold for a profit in the Arabian Peninsula. It's cold in Newcastle. That makes no sense. I prefer not to talk to this man. That makes no sense, I retorted. Whoever heard of selling opium to Arabs? You might as well try to sell them the horses. You don't know my mistress. She could sell a recipe for a camel to an Arabian godmother, the sailor said. She used the profit to fund her expeditions into the desert. What a daring woman. As he made his third roll, the sailor told me that his expedition camp was in Hailey, some distance to the southwest, and always in need of an extra pair of hands. An interesting thought. I rolled snake eyes and handed over my money with much grace as I could muster. The Albion patted me on the shoulder, and I decided to return to my master before I found any more trouble in Beirut. We are now bright, and we have gone down a touch. But we have a new route, which I might do that. I had no idea you were especially talented, my man. So I think we're going to plan. I think we're going to go here, to be honest. I mean, we might as well. So let us sleep for the night. We'll pass the night here. Of course. We found no true hotel, only a boarding house of rooms around a central courtyard in which a fountain danced and various people sat in and talked in hushed tones. As I looked about, I found something suspect in every pair of eyes I met, so I retired quickly, wanting to avoid trouble. I think I want to avoid trouble, but their voices seemed to echo around the structure into my dreams. Knife the Tall One. So much money, I never would have believed it. Weak as a kitten. I placed a pillow over my head and stayed out, but my eyes would not close, as though someone had propped them open with toothpicks. Finally, I opened the door and shouted. I stayed where I was and simply listened, as the voices uttered threat after threat against my person, my master, our journey. I woke with a pounding headache and a nervous twitch in one eye. I hoped it would disappear if we left, and soon. The bank opens on Monday. I think we're going to depart. We have nothing else to do, so we are going to depart, and thankfully our neck cushion actually increases our health by 1. So that's nice. So we are now on the Ottoman Gayak airship. We departed Beirut on an Ottoman Gayak airship. The envelope was painted all over with an interlocking geometric patterns which continued into our corridors inside. The lights flickered a bit. I could feel the rumble of the engine below my feet. Louder than I was perhaps used to. The Gayaks were coal gas, rather than steam-powered. A rather useful feature, since so much of Ottoman land was desert. Well, let's groom Fogg just to get our health back up. And can I continue, or no, that just continued our conversation, okay. I looked in on the control room, more spacious than European standards, but similarly arrayed with altimeters, gas value controls, inclinometers, and gyroscopes. I cleared my throat. The crew ignored me resolutely. Excuse me, I said loudly. One of the crew looked over. Can I help you? The crewman asked in passable French. What can you tell me about Highley? I asked. The crewman shrugged. Not much. It's a much nicer place than others around here. What places do you mean? Don't go to Muscat, he answered. And if you do, don't fall in with any pirates. They'll strip you bare. Happened to my uncle. A low buzzer sound began to sound, and the captain began barking orders as we descended. The crewman excused himself, and I paced the observation deck until we docked at our destination, the desert settlement of Highley and the Al Rashid Emirate. So we need to avoid Muscat. Okay, so avoid Muscat. We need to remember that. The traveling cloak should be quite valuable here. Really? Well, let's go to the market and see what there is. I don't want to sell that, though. A pair of... We do not have the traveler set. So we have olive oil, Ottomans, well, we don't need anything. Let's plan our journey. Well, we can only go there. It would appear we cannot go that way today. So I'm going to go to the hotel, of course, pass the night. And Highley was the capital of Al-Rashid Emirate, crowned by the newly constructed Barzan Palace, a grand structure over 3 stories, with lush gardens flourishing amidst the sand and dust, excuse me. Its charm surprised me, though it should not have, I suppose. Why would a place not be beautiful? Barzan Palace, usually for edifices of its sort, did not dominate the town, but sprawled gently into a bustling soak. Trade of small lands and sects intermingled easily under the protection of the progressive Emir, Tilal bin Rashid. I found the sailor's mistress at the horse traders. Well, let's talk to her, since that's who we wanted to talk to. I was surprised to find that she was dressed in the white, flowing robes of a booted man, complete with a coif wrapped a little bit like a bonnet. She was looking critically at a tremolo of about 16 hands. Could such a lady really be an opium trader? I glanced at the long-necked bay further back, and the woman moved a little closer. You have a good eye. She has a perfectly formed mitbeh, long and flexible, she said approvingly. She had the particular nasal tone of an English aristocracy, and I was not surprised when she introduced herself as the Lady Anne Blunt, or as she called herself in these parts, Anise Bint London. I am Passepartout, I declared. I'm going around the world. She nodded, curious, but not curious enough. I'm headed to Riga by camel train in pursuit of superior horse flesh. I must recommend you come with us, as you are clearly a discerning sort. I promised to consider it, but Lady Blunt had already turned away to Harangue, the horse trader. I returned to my hastily pitched tent, relished the prospect of telling Monsieur Fogg my encounter. So can we explore or can we depart? I think I'm going to explore. And we have some new routes. And where's that route going? Rubakli. I took a few hours to explore, investigating the various options for how we might continue our journey. Oh, is that it? Well, let's depart, shall we? We have this one. Arrives next Saturday? Or arrives Friday? Oh, gosh. We are here for a while. Well, let's sleep in the hotel, because there's literally nothing we can do. So, before retiring, I attended to Monsieur Fogg, providing him with fresh clothing. Relationships with Fogg had strengthened slightly, so that should fix when we deteriorated a bit. And the bank opens at 11 a.m. I'm in roaring health, we must make haste. Arrives Wednesday, Saturday, or this day. Looks like we're gonna have to go to Baghdad, because that's the only way we can go. So, I guess we're gonna sleep once more? I mean, it's the only thing we can do. I guess we'll pass the time again. We took a room and settled in, and I made certain to repack the iron and everything. to ensure everything was in place for an inevitable departure. We have strengthened slightly our relationships again. And can we depart? Arrives next Wednesday. Next Wednesday? Arrives tomorrow. But we can already depart. But... I mean, we might as well go. So let's go. Though we are in a little pinch for money, so I think we have to go to the bank next time. We cannot miss another trip to the bank. We found a driver willing to cross the desert in a car powered by electric collection of sails, mirrors, glass tubes, and steam powered. I did not fully understand it, but once the engine was started and the liquid in the tubes began to bubble, the steam and the heat, the vehicle took off, hovering at such a speed that I was forced to leap aboard. Well, let's converse. Greetings, Monsieur Driver. Hold on. Let's talk about Baghdad. I need to know about Baghdad. What about this? One can travel in a desert taxi from Baghdad to Manama, but the fare is extraordinary. Baghdad, Suez, Quetta. Well, let's talk about Manama. What else do you know about Manama? Go on. Manama to Dubai. It's possible to go to Manama to Dubai. Indeed, one can sail by fishing boat from Manama to Dubai. But the journey is a tiring one. Goodbye. It's a tiring one. Okay. And now nighttime approaches. Within a few hours we were in deep desert, the bobbing car dropping and rising above the loose and uneven yellow stone. In all directions there was nothing to be seen but the misty heat haze rising from the sand. I kept my eyes peeled on the horizon, hoping for a glimpse of, well, anything. But there was nothing to be seen. After several hours, the heat and the smell, the constant bubbling of the car began to grate on my nerves, so I was overjoyed to see the outline of buildings rising through the haze. Oh, and I just realized I was gonna say our health was at 100, but now it's down by 8. But let's groom Foz, a game of Camtasia, you say? How enjoyable. We spent the night feasting on spices and pulses and drinking a dark beer-like drink in the ruined walls of the ancient city. I had no idea of its name or history, none of the inhabitants spoke English, and our driver disappeared within a few moments of our arrival. But we rested well, and we were well set up to leave the next morning. The journey the next morning was, by comparison, much easier. I asked about the ruins, and the driver shrugged. Very old indeed, he said. Once a river ran through that city, and for 4,000 years a great empire flourished. There's nothing left now, he nodded. Nothing, not even the river. The domes and the towers of the Baghdad rode into view, and the sounds of the chanting drifted across the open plains towards us. And now we arrive in Baghdad. And let's see, the traveling cloak should be quite valuable here. Well, we have Manama, which arrives Saturday. And I guess the only thing to do is to hotel. Yeah, of course, the only thing to do is hotel. I'm gonna keep saying that. We stayed in Baghdad at the Tio Hotel, owned by Marcus Tio, a man of most improbable pale skin in these desert climes. Are you a foreigner in these parts? I asked. No, indeed, he replied, wiping wine glasses with a small towel as we talked after hours in the hotel bar. I have little interest in travel myself. My fascinations are elsewhere. I enjoy experiments. Whatever do you mean? I asked, intrigued. I have great fascinations with things, he replied, gesturing with a hand round the bar at the cluttered shelves, the ornaments, the fine antiquities that covered every surface. And I recently acquired a most wonderful thing. And what is that? A balloon, he declared, with great joy. My son is taking it to the Terran in the next few days. Are you fellow balloonist, dear sir? Perhaps you would enjoy the ride. Remembering our previous ballooning adventure into Beirut, I could not help but shudder. But still I said I will mention it to my master. Tio nodded. Excellent. And here, something else. Another thing. I looked on in interest. From a shelf on the wall he took down a beautifully crafted dagger. This is as old as the city and very valuable, I'm sure. Please. From me. You are most generous. Oh no, I'm not, he smiled. I've been told by people I truly undeservedly that this thing brings bad luck, and I'll happy to be rid of it. Why not throw it in the river then, I asked. The only way to lift the curse is to cede ownership to someone who is aware of it. Should I lose it by either design or happenstance, I would be cursed forever. So, Passporte, will you take it from me? You know, I'm scared. I mean, I'm not superstitious, But knowing this game, I feel like superstition is going to happen. So that I can be no more 4-deal luck than you. I left the dagger on the bar untouched. He shrugged. I cannot blame you. A most honest man, Monsieur Tio, I thought as I bid him good night. Perhaps not the cleverest macaron in the passery. But now we have Tyrone. And what is it? 6, 7, 8, 9. This should be perfect. This should get us to 11, or close enough. The Ottoman Empire had ruled Baghdad for the last 300 years, give or take a few decades of Iranian and Mamluk rule. It was a city in decline from its glory days and riven by plague, chloria, and famine. Chloria, plague, and famine, I repeated aloud and shivered. Are you placing a curse on the city? A bemused voice inquired from behind me. I hurried without turning to look for the source of the remark. And so I met Monsieur Elri Ezra, Baghdad by birth, and Jewish by religion, and merchant by trade, as he put it. He took me under his wing with the hospitality I had come to associate with my travels in the Middle East. He promised I would not perish for want of food, though he gave no guarantees on the subject of chloria or plague. I asked him on advice for how best to travel through. Russia or India? I'm going to say Russia. And he sucked his teeth. Well, he shrugged. Either through Kabul or head north to Baku. Baku. A hard journey either way. I thanked Monsieur Ezra for the food and for the advice as he slapped me on the back and pressed a packet of dates and figs in my hand before he left home. A most welcoming place, Baghdad. I was almost sorry we did not have more time to spend here. But now we just wait a few more seconds and we're gonna go to the bank because we were a little low on funds from the 4,000 pounds we had. But now we can go to the bank. You must visit the bank, Monsieur Fogg declared. You have additional funds? I am a gentleman. They would extend me credit if required, he replied. But do you suppose I put my entire fortune into a carpet bag under your supervision? I did not answer. I regarded the bank as we entered. It was a palace of stone and shimmering as marble floors with beautiful windows, fountains, and plants. You wish to withdraw funds, we were told. I warn you, it may take some time. I'm going to say 1,000 tomorrow. We required 1,000 pounds, I said. The manager nodded. I will communicate to London first. Of course, he apologized. I should have a reply tomorrow. It seems, Monsieur Fogg remarked as we left, we have some time to dispose of. Return to the bank tomorrow to collect your funds. Well, considering there's nothing to do, we'll pass the night on to day 18, and with the last light of the evening, I washed and hung our linen. I spent a few hours polishing shoes in the lobby. I spent a while talking to the hotelier to find out what I could learn that you could buy tea sets in Herat worth a huge amount in Agra. A most interesting snippet. Relationships with Fogg have deteriorated slightly. Well, our funds are ready to collect when it opens. Tapping the clock will skip time forward. I did not know this. I did not know you could click on the clock. Well, I now have learned. We return to the bank at opening time to collect our funds, and then we are ready to proceed once more. And with our funds increasing a bit, I think I'm going to end this episode off here, everyone. So, this is Holiday Wither signing off. Hope you've enjoyed another episode of 80 Days, and if you have, make sure you click that like button. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a nice day.